Time for my September wrap up. Here are the 11 books that I finished throughout the month, plus the ones I'm currently reading. I'm just gonna grab and go because my month was all over the place. Some new favorites, which we're glad about, but also quite a few kind of mediocre, forgettable ones. We're gonna pepper them in between the good ones. So the first one we're gonna start with is a new favorite. I am so happy I read this. This is Garden Spells, and I picked it up at a used bookstore with a friend because she told me it was giving her practical magic vibes, very like cozy, which during the fall I have been in the mood to read that this year instead of like the books that were supposed to keep me up until 2 in the morning. They haven't been hitting the way they're supposed to hit. So I've been on the cozy journey during the fall so far, and this one was perfect. This is definitely practical magic 2.0. It has aged a little bit better too. If you've read Practical Magic, it has not aged well. The movie, obviously, a lot better. But in this one, you do have two sisters, stepsisters. They were left behind at their grandmother's house, and they didn't get along. And then one of them left there as soon as she could at 18. And then she lived her life, got pregnant by a not so nice man. So think domestic violence. There are a few scenes in here, trigger warning. And she decides to leave and go back home. So you're following them trying to reform a relationship. It's about, you know, like family, but also like finding a home, and there's some romance, and it was good. I was scared at one point. Okay, there were a few moments with the descriptions of women and the romance. I was like, oh, is it going to like have, again, aged badly? And I think it was fine overall, and I ended up really enjoying the book. So if you like witches, small town, if you like even cooking and gardening, you get scenes of that too. I just giggled a few times. I was super invested, so much so that the second I finished this, I went online and realized that there was a second book, and I ordered it. It has to be shipped from, like, I think it was the UK, so it's not coming anytime soon probably. But even though I'm sure it's not going to be the same, the second book in a cozy fantasy series is never the same, but I will be reading it because this was just that good. So again, witches, practical magic, absolutely pick this up. Oh, I gave it 5 stars because yes, yes. Let's balance things out. This one, the Spiderman. I really wanted to love this. Actually, this author in general was recommended to me by you, although you did mention that the Lady Astronaut series was better, so I'm gonna still be trying this one, but this one was kind of a disappointment. I feel like at first I gave it 3, and I feel like over time it's like it kind of going down. The premise was right up my alley. It's like a lock room murder mystery. It's happening in space. You're following this couple on their honeymoon, as you're told every 5 minutes. And her husband, fresh husband, is accused of being the murderer, and she's trying to piece things together, trying to figure out what actually happened so she can save him. But she is rich and famous. She was in an accident, and she is left with chronic pain, disability, and she has her little dog with her, which I think was the best character in here. I do feel like she pushed herself way too much, way too often. It kind of stopped being like good representation for chronic pain. I felt like it just didn't really matter. She just kept doing everything she wanted anyway. And I don't understand how they expected to piece things together while being drunk the whole time. They're not actually, it's not said that they're drunk, but every chapter starts with the description, the recipe for a drink, and they are drinking nonstop, which you're on your honeymoon, you do you, but like, how are you gonna solve this murder? Also, so many characters. I will admit I'm someone, I get overwhelmed with too many characters, but I feel like in a lock room, that's usually the good part, is that, okay, there aren't that many people that can have done it, but since it's a spaceship, there's still a bunch of people. So yeah, I kind of lost interest towards the end. I just finished it for the sake of it. So yeah, kind of a disappointment for me. I think it's probably a 2.5 stars, but like I mentioned, I had given it 3. I rounded it up, and now I kind of want to round it down. So meh. Let's go back to Cozy Witches, because I read 2, okay? I read 2 this month, and I feel like the vibes were just perfect. I've been struggling to find cute, modern witches. I feel like I never finished the books because I just resent them. I've done that like 5 times. But warning, the cover is very ugly. I know some of you will like it, but a lot of you are going to be like, I'm not listening to you. Listen, in the company of witches. This is so good. If you like, again, small town witches, small town gossip, if you like a little bit of Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, and like maybe a little bit of Gilmore Girls, kinda. You're following this witch, she's an adult. She has two aunts, they're running this bed and breakfast. Kinda, right? And one of their client, a client that rented the whole place, is found the morning, and unfortunately one of the aunts is a grumpy person, and she may have said that she wanted her to be. So there's the investigation obviously happening, small town gossip. Obviously they're witches, people have been, you know, over the years, but it also is kind of serious in the sense that it talks a lot about grief, again, about family. And I really appreciated that it wasn't actually a YA book, you know, like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, but the adult version kinda. And yeah, I thought it was really cute. I believe this is also a series. There's a second book if you have read it. I think there's only like 1,000 ratings on the second book on Goodreads. So if anyone has read it, please let me know because I'm curious. But yeah, that cover is making me hesitate once again. But this was cute. Obviously murder and grief, but it still felt like quite readable, and I listened to that one as an audiobook from the library, so definitely check out your library. But yeah, it was great. I liked it. I liked it. I need to do a video about cozy fantasy books because I want more now. I feel like they can be so hit and miss. You just need to be emotionally invested, right? And Garden Spell, super invested. This one, pretty invested. So two good ones. Let's go with Pen Pal. Okay, this one was also a recommendation by you guys. This is a horror kind of book. I don't read a ton of them because quite frankly, I find them often disappointing. Either like the ending is like really open, I hate that, or you kind of have to always suspend your disbelief, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The best one I can think of that I've read on this channel is probably Sour Candy. It's really short, but it did what it had to do. I don't know why I keep saying that, but Pen Pal. My issue with it is that I had to suspend my disbelief too much about his mother. Let's start, rewind, the story. You're following this man and he's like, it's basically short stories of him remembering things that have happened when he was a kid. Creepy things. And I feel like children, dark forest, creepy people, like that always works. And I do think that these portions were strong, and I appreciated that he would remember more and more over time. That was good. But his mother, that was my biggest issue. And I know people were more like hands off raising their kids, and they needed ads on TV to remind them, where are your children? But even though I still feel like my parents probably didn't know where I was a little too much, this is too much. This is too much. The kid is like 6 and staying outside in the forest until it's dark. The mom is not worried. Like, it's a bit too much. And like there's a scene where the school creates this project where the kids are going to take their pictures, write letters, and like send them off in little balloons in the air with like an address for them to send them back responses to the school. But still, you would never do that nowadays. And understand again that there's no specific dates, but like it's obviously like in, I don't know, 80s, 90s. So like fair enough, but like still. I also just in general had issues with the adults. Maybe it means that the main character is a little bit unreliable, but I feel like so many like big things are withheld from him, which I guess probably why he doesn't really remember them that much later on, but still, like his mom is not telling him shit. So yeah, that was my biggest issue with it because it started strong. I even like the ending. I think it's just the middle, I kind of just, yeah, creepy ending. It was good. Just the mom, I just could not suspend my disbelief that much. So this is a 3.5 stars. I understand why people would like this, but I couldn't stop thinking about that the whole time. So let's talk about nonfiction. The brightest cover. Yeah, my camera's not gonna like this. Word. YouTube hates that word. Which is the irony. Every time I talk about this book, it's just, why that word? I've said the D one multiple times, by the way. Never been demonetized. As soon as I say other things like misogyny, ooh, or Murakami, the videos. But this one, I think it's a very interesting topic to explore. I feel like I have done that in school because my first language is French and it's a very gendered language. So I feel like I already had a little bit of basic information, and this is a good entryway into the topic of how language is affected by sexism. And I appreciated that even though the tone is kind of light to make it very accessible, the author does still take it pretty seriously. I appreciated the entryway in certain discussions, like for example, the fact that women keep using the word like, or all those like softening words in our language, either written or out loud, and how this is perceived as being like a negative, but like really, is it? Is it? I feel like it's more, I don't remember exactly how she was putting it. I want to say like community based, like it's based on the comprehension. And why do we keep mocking everything women, especially teenage girls, do? Why? I mean, we know why. And also, one of the ones I thought was really interesting, even though it's a tiny portion, I thought it was going to be bigger, but she mentions even how the way we talk about sex is very gendered, and how we say like penetration. Why do we not say envelopment? You know? I feel like those are all little things that you just don't think about. So again, this is a very good entryway into that topic. I want to keep exploring it. I have been trying to find a lot of nonfictions and trying them, specifically some that are like beginner friendly, and I then find books that go more in depth in the topics I'm into. So I will be doing a video like I did last year, reviewing all the nonfiction books that I've read this year, but this was a really good one. Again, that cover is so bright, my camera hates it, but this was good. I enjoyed it. I feel like it would be a really good one as an audiobook too. Oh, another forgettable one, unfortunately. Old Woman with the Knife. I've been trying to read more translation. This is a Korean translation, and I kind of hated it. I read, what was it called? It's right there. Where is it? Oh yeah, Killers of a Certain Age. Okay. And I was disappointed, even though I love that trope, the idea, like, in both books, it's four women or one woman that are in their 60s. They've been assassins for like 40 years, and then their past comes back to haunt them, or like people trying to them. And I like the trope, but unfortunately in both cases, I was just disappointed. I feel like this one, it's only 6 hours, the audiobook, and I struggled to finish it. I lost completely in interest probably halfway through, and I just forced myself. I'm learning not to do that, but I still did it with this one. I don't recommend it. Just no. I have nothing else to say about it. Just no. I also tried, okay, disappointed. I know people are gonna be upset. I tried Our Wives Under the Sea. I really wanted to love this. You're following these two women, sapphic relationship. One of them goes and explores under the sea in this submarine, and she's supposed to be gone for like 2 weeks, but then she's gone for like, I don't know, 6 months. And you kind of get, you know, flashbacks of what happened while also seeing the effects on the relationship when she's back. And it's just very much vibes. Think How to Lose the Time War, like these kind of like sapphic, vague, magical realism vibes that don't work for me. I really wanted to like this, but again, the audiobook was really short and I struggled to finish it. So this was a no for me. Not awful, like I can appreciate the writing and everything. I'm giving it 3 stars. Like it wasn't a bad book. It just really wasn't for me. Let's go back to something good. Master of Gin. I was so happy when I picked this up in my gigantic jar. I still am not over this. My Read It or Unhaul It challenge, and this is an adult standalone fantasy. Standalone because there are quite a few short stories. A lot of you told me that they're really, really good, so I will be trying them. I usually don't really unless I love the world, but I will because so many of you told me that they were so good. This is an alternative version of our world. I think it's set in the 1910s. And it's set in Egypt. You're following this woman. She's quite progressive. She loves to wear suits. Again, sapphic relationship. And they're having to deal with colonialism, but also Jinn coming back. So the magic, the effects of it. And she works with the police to try and solve a mass murder event, really. And things happen. I ended up really invested in characters a lot more than I expected. I really cared about the investigation. I thought there was a good balance of like fantasy and like murder mystery. I'm noticing that I really like that combo. And just in general, it was good, engaging. I have nothing bad to say about it. This was good. 4.5 stars. I'm rounding it up to a 5 because I haven't read that many fantasy, I feel like high fantasy books, and this was a good one. It deserves more hype. Ooh. Yellowface. Okay, let's talk about Yellowface. I was looking forward to reading that one ever since everyone started asking me, are you gonna read it? And yes, I did. I listened to it as an audiobook, which also would recommend if you like audiobooks because of the tone of the book. It's very readable and it's a lot of like monologues from the main character. I didn't know much about it before going into it, and I would recommend doing that, but I'm going to keep it somewhat vague but still give you obviously my opinion. I can give you some spoilers in the comment section. I can always do that if you want to. Long story short, the main character is a white woman. She is probably an unreliable narrator because it's very much from her point of view, but she essentially steals the work from her best friend, an Asian woman, and passes it off as hers, and she has to deal with the feedback, the consequences of people suspecting, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of what it is about. And I thought this was funny, ironic, pretty dark humor. And all of that was really engaging for the first 2/3, I would say, of the book, and then I lost interest. I feel like the book ended on a meh note. I also feel like a little bit like Babel. I kind of have to draw the similarities. They're too obvious. Again, ending that are kind of meh, and the fact that she rubs her message in your face very hard, like too much. And in this specific case of Yellowface, I feel like the ending, the main character, yeah, she's not very smart, I guess, but she becomes too dumb. She just becomes too dumb. And at one point she does things that, like, yeah, sure, in the moment, blah, blah, but like it's too much. And again, I had to suspend my disbelief, and it's like, it's not about it being realistic or not. It just feels too much, and I just wasn't invested anymore. I know that there are like rumors of people saying like, oh, the author used some of her own experiences in here, like from the victim, but also not the victim. And I don't know much about it. I just feel like I couldn't help but be disappointed by the ending. It just, she could have went for it, and I don't feel like she did. So yeah, I don't know. It feels still fresh, and I haven't checked any reviews because I wanted to keep my own opinion form it. And now I'm gonna go and watch them, and I'm probably gonna be like, oh, you actually put into words exactly what I was feeling. It happens, right? When you're not sure how to say something. But yeah, I think I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. I feel like I really enjoyed the beginning, and then I just, yeah. And then I read my best friend's Exorcism, which this is like probably going to be my favorite cover of the year. This is just so cool. This was my first Grady Hendrix book, and this was good. This was good. I will be reading more by him. This is kind of a classic inspired by classic horror movies. I haven't really watched that many. To be honest, I'm one of those people. I don't have the attention span to watch older ones. I don't know why. Don't know why. But you're following this group of like 4 teenage girls, mainly the friendship between 2 of them. And when they are out of town, they're doing drugs, and one of them disappears in the woods, comes back, and things are weird. Is she possessed? And you're kind of following the consequences. I'm gonna be honest, I feel like at this point I'm a little wary of male authors writing teenage girls, or just women in general, but teenage girls specifically. So I was a little scared, but no, I ended up actually enjoying this. I feel like it was just enough of messed up. There were a few scenes that were kind of out there. So I'm gonna say there is one that I was like, oh no. Actually 2 that I was like, but all I'm gonna say is part 2 of the Exorcism made me anyway, I'm not mad at the ending too. Ending, again, horror books can be really hard, but this was fun. I will be reading more by the author. I think I'm gonna give this 4.25. Definitely a solid book to read during the fall. So if you're still looking for recommendations, that and The Witches. Pen Pal wasn't bad too. Last but not least, I also finished The Measure, and I feel like the beginning was so strong, and then the premise is really interesting. I am someone that I will power through a book if the concept is really interesting, if you're actually exploring it, but I don't feel like you were. This feels more like speculative fiction than like sci-fi or dystopian. Basically, one day people wake up, everyone over the age of 22 has a box with a string inside of it that tells you the length of your life. So you can imagine the consequences on society. I feel like you could have imagined them more, author. You're mostly following these 8 people and the consequences on their life. It's very much like a slice of life, but like their whole life from that moment on. And I feel like the author, I'm trying to be vague, but generally speaking, she felt more optimistic about what the world would be like with that than I would ever be. Maybe I do tend to prefer dark dystopian books, but this No, no. Great concept, poor execution for me. So, not for me. 2 stars. Disappointed. I'm currently in the middle of like a million books. I am still going through Middlemarch. Very much enjoying it, but it's like, I've been listening to it as an audiobook and it's 35.5 hours, so yeah, it's probably gonna be my only audiobook in October. I also started My Brilliant Friend number 4. This is the 4th book in the Neapolitan series. This is the story of the lost child, and I also started the TV show. Oh my god, so many of you told me to watch it, but I didn't want to watch it until I was done with the series, which I'm not. This is the last book though. And I am so invested. If you love TV, I want everyone to actually watch it. Plus, like, it's translation, right? It's Italian. And now I feel like I want to pronounce everything with an accent. It's just, anyway, you have these 2 friends. And you're following them through their whole lives. It starts from them being like older, and then one of them disappearing, and she kind of writes down their whole life story in the hope that it will bring her back. And it's just everything. I should keep that for when I'm done with this, but please do yourself a favor. Read this series. You're following their friendship, but also the life in their neighborhoods, trying to escape poverty, trying to escape the inexorable ending, like their own family, their own mothers, the other women that they see going crazy due to the men in their lives and them following the same steps, trying to escape through education, blah, 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 and just romance. It's just politics, and it's just, it's everything. It's everything. I'm not done, but I already know the whole series is 5 stars, so unless the ending sucked, I would be pissed, but so good. So good. Speaking of rage, this is Who Cooked the Last Supper? The Women's History of the World. I've been buddy reading this with a friend. She really wanted to read this, and I am at page 252. A lot of this is like notes and like references, so I only have this much left. I'm gonna be honest, the first like 2-3 chapters felt a bit too new age for me. It feels very like it's history of women. You know how history is written by the women, it's also written by men. And the first like 3 chapters, I feel like we're very much into like trying to write history that has never been written, and like there's only so much we can tell from it. So that's why I wasn't really into it. But afterwards, it becomes straight up enraging. But like good rage. So if you, again, like nonfiction feminist, I would recommend it. Again, I don't know how accurate the beginning is, but afterwards it gets really intense. And so far I'm enjoying it, but yeah, a lot of ranting to each other so far. And audiobook-wise, I'm currently listening to All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. I wanted to give him another shot because I really loved Razorblade Tears by him and then really didn't care for Blacktop Wasteland. He tends to write small town murder mysteries with racism being a big topic. And in this case, you're following a black cop who became a cop to try and help the town. And there's been a shooting in a school, and then it seems to be a lot more complex than that. And it's intense so far. I'm enjoying it. I feel like he writes really good characters. Like they're deep. You're really invested in them, even though they're not always great people. In this case, it's fine, but I'm thinking Razorblade Tears. It was hard to root for them, but you just could not help yourself. I am 56% into it, so we'll see how it goes. But so far, so good. Definitely better than Blacktop Wasteland. Please let me know if you have read any of these, your thoughts on them, and also let me know the best books you have read this month because I want to know. I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend, and I am gonna go and fight the cats. Look at her. Look at her. The people want to see you. Look at her. Oh my god, she's adorable. That's it. I will see you next video.